Hello, good afternoon, Earthlings. I feel we should say we're going to go where no algorithm has gone before. I have two incredibly cool speakers here, and I want to just start, actually, Chandra, I want to start with what's top of mind for me, which is what keeps you up at night? Being in space. Go.
Diane, that is a really good question. And I want to pivot this over to the audience, okay? Or you guys want to interact with me today? Okay, that's what I'm talking about. How many of you guys use GPS systems and navigations to get to and from where you want to go on a daily basis? I need some energy. Woo!
You make them jump up when they say that. So.
Yes. How many of you depend on weather data to be able to make your plans for the week?
I'm not feeling scared yet, by the way, Chandra.
Yes.
So.
How many of you want the Department of Defense to be able to monitor our adversaries' activities on the ground to be able to protect and defend this nation?
And your own activities. Oh, just kidding. Never mind.
Absolutely. That is Space Force. And what keeps me up at night is knowing that our adversaries, they understand our reliance on space. They understand your reliance and your family's reliance on space-based capabilities. And they are taking deliberate actions to develop capabilities to grade our advantage in space. So what keeps me up at night is knowing that I cannot, in the United States Space Force, we cannot let you down because you depend on our capabilities each and every day.
And now I'm betting that's not what keeps you up at night, Arvind. What keeps you up at night?
Besides the rocks coming at our spacecraft at 27,000 miles an hour.
There's that.
And the solar storms. There's, you all saw the immense capabilities that generative AI has and the ability to create concepts from very little information that are believable and real. Maxar is in the business of providing actionable intelligence by looking at the world from space. The ability for adversaries to pollute that just a few pixels keeps us up at night. How do we prevent these attacks from subtly altering the information that you all live by and derive is critical to our information infrastructure from space.
Yeah, exactly. So the security. Well, I feel like before we get into some of the overhyped, underappreciated, which is also interesting, I want to drill down a little bit on what your jobs are. You mentioned a little bit. So Chandra, you're the Chief Data and AI Officer. Very cool. And Space Force is really only 5 years old at this point. So what do you do in that context? You come to work every day. What is your role?
So my role is very simple. But also very complex. And it's to ensure that there is not a day without space data. So the United States Space Force, last year, we published our first Data and AI Strategic Action Plan for FY24, and it outlined specific actions and deliverables that we were going to do in partnership with industry to deliver on our mission. For your awareness, if you have not seen that plan, and we're getting ready to release our FY25 plan, we have 4 key line of efforts. And we have a very fun acronym that is easy to remember, and that acronym is MARS, M-A-R-S.
Oh, we'll get to Mars.
Absolutely. The first line of effort is how do we mature our enterprise data and AI governance. You guys are all data and AI professionals. You understand the importance of governance. The second one is how do we advance a data-driven and AI-enabled culture when appropriate? Understanding the importance of being data-driven in all of the decisions that we make, and then leveraging AI when appropriate. The third one is how do we re-optimize our data analytics and artificial intelligence capabilities to be able to deliver on our mission, and again, make sure you guys continue to have access to capabilities. And our last one, which I think is the most important, is how do we strengthen our partnerships with the most data and AI capable organizations to deliver on our mission, and many of those organizations are sitting here, and I'm so excited to be able to talk and engage with each of you during the conference.
So Arvind, part of when I read about Maxar, you ground truth in real time. Of course, you've got the automated, map making. What's your moat? What do you do that's really? Tell us a bit more about what differentiates you in space, which is, of course, a vast frontier. I'll stop with all of these different analogies. Go ahead.
Yeah, what differentiates Maxar is that we've invested in infrastructure end to end to deliver intelligence by looking at the Earth from space to our mission-critical partners like the U.S. government and its allies, with reliability, resiliency, and the ability to survive events, both natural disasters as well as human-made events, with the level of reliability that ensures that the information they're getting is accurate and timely.
So we are going to get to questions from the audience. I want to just do a bit of a lightning round on overhyped, underappreciated. You can say Elon Musk in both categories if you prefer that. But let me go with you first, Chandra. What would you put as overhyped?
Overhyped, we are at an AI conference. I would say what is overhyped is that artificial intelligence is the solution, to all things. I think we need to kind of change the conversation and ask ourselves, what is the problem to be solved? Start with the problem, work backwards, and if artificial intelligence happens to be the capability, the solution, then let's do that. If not, let's have real conversations about each other, about alternate pathways and solutions.
Okay, how about yourself for the overhyped? And I do think talking about the role of AI, of course, in this environment is something we're very curious about.
Yeah, absolutely. Space, you've all heard space is hard. Unfortunately, it's also, while being hard, it's also a playground for the computer scientists and for just any scientist in all of us. What's not to love about it, right? You have this autonomous robot that's flying around taking pictures. You have every opportunity to do cool things with those pictures and use AI. What has been overhyped is the perception that it's easy to make money in space. It's easy to turn it into a profitable business. At the same time, the ability for space to transform your world is also underappreciated. If you ever looked at a moving map, either in your car or any other handheld device, chances are it came from an image that Maxar took or one of its partners.
So it's hard to make money, but there's opportunities to make money. So
exactly.
that's a good message to have. We have mic runners. If you have a question, please raise your hand. I do want to ask, I'd be remiss not to ask about, let's say Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, maybe not proactively with the incoming administration, but retroactively, what impact do you think that he's had in this playground? I'm going to go to you first, Arvind.
The impact has been very positive to the industry. And the reason I say that is that a decade ago, space was not accessible. Today, we can think about starting a business that gives us access to space on a predictable, well-defined schedule. You can get on a launch calendar at a cost that's a fraction of what it was a decade ago. And so it's created this ecosystem where space is democratized for the right players who know how to turn it into a profitable business. So that ability didn't exist.
Anything you'd want to add?
I would just say for the United States Space Force, we're going to partner with the most innovative companies that can deliver the capabilities we need, regardless of who they are.
Okay, good answer, I think. Good answer practically. Any questions that anybody wants to ask? I have so many questions, but just raise your hand. We have mic runners. Is there one back there? No? Okay, that's good because I have lots of questions. And my next one is basically, I love the idea of in any conference like this, there's the blue sky element. So the next, say, 12 to 24 months, tell us a little bit about what's around the corner. Of course, we're talking in the context of AI, but technology writ large, what can we look forward to? Can you give us a preview, Chandra?
Yes, I would say from the United States Space Force earlier this year, we did publish our commercial space strategy. If you have not seen it, please go take a look at it. But it really gets to what the Space Force wants to partner with industry and academia about to get after specific problems. One of the things I would say kind of a moonshot thing, but I do see coming online is our ability to leverage more commercial satellite imagery. That is going to be huge. It has the ability to truly change how we operate and how we make decisions. So I imagine a world where a guardian or an airman can have a specific question about something that is taking place on the ground and being able to log into a portal and ask that question and be able to get the imagery back to enable them to make real-time decision making. I also see that time shortening down. So some of these capabilities, it takes weeks. Sometimes we've gotten things down to hours, but I see us getting down to minutes and seconds very soon. And again, we have the brightest minds in the world sitting in this room right now, and I would love to talk to you and your organizations about how you can help us get after that.
How about yourself? Give us some of the sense of what's exciting to you in the next year or two.
Yeah, this is an AI conference, so it would be remiss if I didn't use the word AI at least once. But at Maxar, we're excited about the potential for AI to change how decisions are made from looking at space. What we found in the last 5 years or so, we've been in the AI business for a while, is that more images are discarded because they were manually looked at by humans and filtered for information, and our partners were missing critical information. We see the advances in the ability to apply concepts like object detection and automated correlations between events as making that much more actionable and real time for our customers.
As we talk about the evolution here from generative AI toward agentic AI, some people call it identic AI as well, how does that impact the thinking? I mean, when we have agents in space, again, I think about some of the things that keep me up at night. How does that work? Is it fair to talk about it in that context?
So I'll say that we leverage artificial intelligence in a variety of space capabilities, but I will say that when it comes to high-stake things and missions, we will continue to leverage a human in the loop. I do think there are a lot of opportunities in the United States Space Force to leverage agents to be able to help with business operation processes. One thing I think about in particular is traveling. We do a lot of traveling. It would be great to be able to leverage artificial intelligence to go out and book flights and understand, because many times in the Department of Defense, we have to move very quickly. It's not uncommon to have 72 hours notice to be able to go somewhere. So how do we leverage artificial intelligence capabilities to help us more on the administrative business side of the house versus mission?
And I think for the people down here on Earth, Arvind, I'd love to get your thoughts as to what are some of the advances that have real-world applications, for some of the folks in the audience, some of the businesses, because I think we talk about, obviously, satellites have a huge impact, but anything else that you think up there is going to transform how we do business down here?
Absolutely. We have some exciting new advances in how imagery from space is enabling rescue missions, in enabling the navigation of drones at low-level flying conditions, and in conditions where you can't send an aircraft, you can't send humans, in areas where you have either denied services or the inability to actually physically send someone. We have the ability to map that in near real time. And so this has had impact in hurricanes and floods, in situations that you would think that that you can just send an aircraft, but if you have an active storm, it's extremely challenging.
So, Chandra, I know we just have a few minutes left, but you're the Department of Defense, obviously. With regard to cybersecurity and nation-state actors, you get a front row seat. And I know, of course, there's only so much you can say, but can you give me some sense of the landscape, that what's happening right now that is on your radar, you'd put on ours with regard to what's happening with some of the other nation-state actors?
Hey, we all get it. Cybersecurity is important. We all also understand that any adversary is going to try to exploit various capabilities through cybersecurity means. So we're pivoting our mindset. How do you secure by design? How do you make sure you're baking cybersecurity in from the beginning and not at the end of the process? And we're having a lot of conversations with various organizations about how to do that. We also have our cybersecurity officer at the Department of the Air Force level that can dive deeper into what that looks like for the department.
So that's okay. So no specifics. That's fair. That's fair enough. Well, let's go to the part where we just sort of give some of the takeaways for the audience. Obviously, we can't cover the entire landscape right now, but from where you sit, give us some thoughts as to what we should be thinking about with regard to Space Force, what you're doing, and what you're seeing.
So I would say space domain awareness is very important. So when it comes to artificial intelligence integration in space, our top priority is leveraging artificial intelligence for space domain awareness. You cannot protect what you cannot see. Space is huge. You do a quick Google search, it will tell you that space is around 93 billion light years large. That is equivalent to 8 octillion football fields, and I say this because I know
8
Colin,
octillion football
yes, I say this because I know
okay,
Colin is getting ready to come on, but that's 8 with 27 zeros, which is great if you're an investor, right? But when you think about people having to maintain awareness of what activities are taking place on those fields at all times, making sure that our adversaries are not doing anything that they should not be doing, making sure that we continue to maintain the GPS capabilities, satellite communication, Wi-Fi, you name it, that's pretty important.
Yeah, fair enough. Arvind?
So space has been a niche industry, and I think we're at an exciting moment where there's a convergence of both AI, robotics, and automation that's bringing it to light. So it's a fertile ground. I think where I see the industry going is that we need to partner better with both the venture community as well as innovators, because there's not only a lot to be done here, but it is fertile ground for both commercial exploration as well as growth. And so that's the part that I'm most optimistic about and would like to leave the audience with that.
Technology is learned by doing, right? We have to create a space for people to experiment and make sure people understand and empower our people that it is okay to fail, right? That's the only way to get better is learning by doing.
Well, and you know, as somebody who's a sci-fi fan, I'd be remiss not to at least ask you whether it's going to Mars, extraterrestrial life. You know, I think we have to, okay, do you believe that there's extraterrestrial life, and do you think that's something we should be looking at? Let's just get it out there as sort of a palate cleanser before we move to our next one. And you have 30 seconds or less to give us your summation.
We're extraterrestrials for someone else out there, so I'll just leave it at that.
All right, fair enough. I'm going to end with the Space Force. Chandra, what do you think?
Hey, what I'm going to say, I'm not going to answer that, but there is a organization in the DoD that handles those particular questions and that mission area. But what I will say is that I know that there is a TV series, a funny TV series about the United States Space Force. But what I want to leave you guys all with here today is the mission of the United States Space Force is real. Every day, thousands of Guardians, men and women in uniform, are working around the clock to ensure that you and your families and your organizations and your businesses continue to have access to space data. And I am so proud that we have the ability to serve you.
Excellent. And I will point out that Andrew Nuska looks like he should be on the set of Men in Black today, so that helps too. Please join me in thanking our terrific guests. Thank you, Chandra. Thank you, Arvind.